This is a Dude Studios production. And hey, I'm the dude.
Hey bartender, pass me a drink. The reason that I'm here is I need time to think.
Welcome back to Hey Bartender Podcast. I am your bartender for the evening. I am the dude. That's what you call me, or you can call me Anthony. I think we've pretty much established that. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully everybody's having a good week. Hopefully everybody's able to keep their head afloat. I'm certainly trying to do the best I can. Things are just going south again. A lot of bartenders and servers and everything's closing up again. I just got back from vacation, and then there's a lot of places where that only allowed a certain amount of people. Like I'll just say the name of the company like it's going to matter. Like Hot Topic, they only allowed 6 people into that store at a time. And I sat back and thought, well, I've never bought anything in Hot Topic. I'll, wander around, kind of laugh at some of the stuff or, kind of poke around, but I've never really bought anything. I usually just kind of wander and stare at things. And so, when they only allow 6 people in there, I wonder how much business they're losing. But nonetheless, that's I don't want to talk about that. But what I do want to talk about is this week's drink special. This week's drink special I swiped from the Cocktail Scientist on Instagram. He calls this the Lucky Beach Charm. The ingredients: you are going to need 2 ounces of Rock Sound Original Light Rum, 1 ounce Midori Melon, ½ ounce peach schnapps, ½ ounce of cream of coconut, 4 ounces of pineapple juice, garnish with a lime wedge. Directions go as follows. Add all ingredients to a cocktail shaker filled with ice. Shake vigorously about 15 seconds. Strain into a cocktail glass filled with fresh crushed ice. Garnish with a lime wedge. It looks like a pretty tasty drink if you ask me. Kind of the way he took the picture of it, kind of borderline like milkshake looking. But it does sound tasty to me. Very tropical, probably very fruity with all that. If you want to know more about the Cocktail Scientist, go follow him on Instagram. And he's got a lot of other drinks that he tells us about, and a lot of great presentations. It's really impressive. This last week, I've been sitting back and, remembering, love and relationships comes up in the bar constantly. Mostly relationships. Maybe not even just relationships, just, flings. That's probably a nice way to put it. But it's the bar. People, go to meet other people, but, unfortunately alcohol kind of changes the personality of the person, or makes them seem exciting, makes them seem what they're not. Maybe you even think you're, acting like you're not. That's why they call it liquid courage sometimes, or what Chris Rock say. when you're in a bar, you're not meeting a person, you're meeting their representative. And just a lot of that whole thing about relationships happening in the bar always pops into my mind, and it comes up a lot in the podcast. I'm sure some of you have noticed. I think this week the reason why it popped into my head is because I was fooling around on social media and I saw these videos of girls lip syncing to somebody else's voice, saying things like women choose who they sleep with and men sleep with who they can. And I have to agree with that in some cases, because there are just guys out there who are desperate, and they go through anything. They don't take a lot of time to choose. They just go for the hunt. And if they couldn't get that one, they go for the next one. And because the biological needs, the biological wants. But it's not just men. I'm sorry, ladies, but I've also seen women do the same thing. Women that have come into the bar dressed about 60% better than they usually dress, which is usually not even that bad. But they dress a little bit higher just to get attention. Peacocking, I think that's what it's called. Same thing with guys. This whole conversation can go both ways. So I'm gonna try my best to keep it gender neutral, but it's not gonna happen. So bear with me, folks. Now, I hear women all the time saying that all men want is sex. No, that's not true. It's not the only thing we want, and it's like Will Smith said in The Fresh Prince of Bel Air. There's actually two things we want because we want to do it more than once. That's a joke, totally. But I've seen both genders. I just said a second ago that women dress 60% better. I'm going to change my mind on that. I'm going to say both genders, when they are in the mood, when they are in heat, they'll come into my bar dressed about 60% better than they normally do, peacocking to attract somebody. If not Mr. or Mrs. Right, Mr. or Mrs. Right now. I've watched tons of people, two people who absolutely hated each other 2 weeks before, and then all of a sudden they go home together, and then come in the next day happy to see each other, but refuse to talk about what happened the night before. But you're not fooling anybody. Your bartender knows, right? Now, on the man's side, from this bartender's point of view, yeah, the man will say things, try to give the air of confidence to attract a female. And, some of them are able to pull off the confidence more than most men, but there's a lot of guys who are just really lacking confidence where they make themselves look like an idiot. And I can relate to that. I did that a lot. But it just all depends on whether or not the woman can tolerate how big of an idiot he's being. Now, by tolerate, I mean whether they think it's cute or, or just don't mind that, or they understand that he's a little insecure, but he's trying. And the important part is he's trying. Now, the guys who try to give the air of confidence, there's this one schmuck that used to come into my bar. When he decided that he was gonna go to the bar and find himself a woman, he put on his nicest jeans, his cowboy boots, a pink button-up shirt, a leather vest, didn't wear his ball cap, showed his receding hairline, and wore tinted glasses for whatever reason. I mean, it was early 2000s. I thought the whole tinted glasses went out in the 80s, but this guy still wanted to hang on to them. But that was how you could tell this guy was out looking for a woman, because that was probably his nicest outfit that he had in his wardrobe. When he spotted a potential woman that he wanted to get to know, he would wander over towards her area, try to get into her eyesight, and stand there and hope that the woman would eventually notice him. Most women were put off by him because the outfit, and he majority of the time got ignored. There were a couple shots where I thought he was gonna. I thought he had a chance to get to know a woman, but inevitably they all of a sudden realized, "Ew, you're gross." But that's a completely different topic. But this guy tried constantly, and he had confidence enough to think that he had a chance with every woman in the bar, even though he really didn't. Maybe nowadays, I mean, I've heard all these women do that thing where if you have a dad body, if you have a beard, if you have tattoos, come here, let me love you. That doesn't sound desperate at all. But maybe he had to have a chance now. He had a stupid mustache too. So I've seen guys go to that extent, try to dress a little bit nicer, look a little bit more respectable. But that's just a disguise, guys. Women can see past that. On the flip side of that coin, ladies, I have just to give a little bit of fair play on both sides, I have seen women who also come into the bar dressed a little bit nicer than they usually do when they come into the bar, when they're in the mood, and basically laugh and fall all over the guy that they've decided to put their targets on. Now, ladies, just by the way social media has been reacting lately, now guys, like they said in those videos, guys sleep with who they can. Now, the way this woman was crawling all over the guy that she set her sights on, it actually put him off. It made him freak out a little bit, made him nervous, and it made her seem overly desperate, and that can scare a guy off. And I mean, if he turned to her and said, "You want to go back to my place?" she would have probably gone with him. More than just by the way she was all touchy feely, laughing at every single thing that he said. But he was actually a little scared. She was a little bit too intense for him. And so, it does go both ways, everybody. I mean, bartenders, servers alike, you all can agree with me. You've seen both of those types in your bars, and it's a very common thing. But the guys with the confidence, the guys, it doesn't really have to do with money. It just doesn't have to do with really how good you look. It has to do with confidence. Ladies, same thing. Guys, sure, when we greatly appreciate it that when you do your hair, you do your makeup, and all that stuff, but you got to show an air of confidence in yourself in order to be attractive. That goes both ways, and I've seen it in the bar where people are overly confident, and that scares people because they automatically think they're a liar, or people that are underly, is that a word? Who are not confident at all, get completely rejected just because they're a wussy, or whatever the female equivalent of wussy is. It's really funny, actually, because when I was standing behind the bar and I'd watch all these people try to hook up, it was kind of funny to watch people crash and burn, because let's face it, when you're behind the bar and you see somebody crash and burn while trying to hook up with somebody, it's fucking hilarious. But me growing up, I have present tense, I have an older sister, and the advantages of me having an older sister was that I could write down all the mistakes that her boyfriend would make and say, okay, she didn't like that, let's try to avoid that. And then, she liked it when he did that. Okay, we'll keep that in the file for potential for further use. I did the same thing when I was standing behind the bar. I would see these guys kind of wander up to a girl and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And the girl just basically go, "Hi, I'm with my friends. Can you please?" Okay, sorry. Just walking up to the girl and trying to introduce himself. The pickup line, the art of the pickup line. I have never been able to master it, therefore I have never used it. But I'd watch these guys use these pickup lines all the time. There's one time I'm standing behind the bar, and this couple sitting at the bar comes into the bar late at night, and the girl sits down at the bar. The guy joins shortly after, but the girl is caught up in a conversation with a guy who says that he's starting his own business of some kind. And eventually, he says, "So, can I buy a drink?" And she goes, "Well, actually, no, because this is my boyfriend." And she points to the guy sitting on the other side. And the guy sitting on her other side actually handled it really well. He just smiled and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And all of a sudden, the guy that was working on his business plan late at night in a bar lost complete interest in her. But I was impressed on how well the girl's boyfriend handled it, because he didn't stand up and try to play the alpha male and say, "Hey, you tried to talk to my girl," or whatever, whatever bullshit that happens in that sort of thing. Didn't start a fight, didn't cause a fuss. The guy was fairly confident, and I was like, "Hey, good for you." But the other guy, he started a conversation with another girl about 4 or 5 minutes after talking to the first girl, and started talking about, well, I'm here with my buddy. We're developing a business plan for a business that we're thinking about doing. Hey, can I buy you a drink? He got to buy the girl a drink, but he didn't go anywhere past that, because about halfway through the drink, she says, "Oh, I got to go join my friends. Nice talking to you. Thank you for the drink." And I kind of laughed. He didn't try that anymore. He all of a sudden decided to give up and go to a different bar, because his whole story of starting his own personal business and trying to act like a big time entrepreneur, the next Bill Gates, the next Elon Musk, or something like that, really wasn't working out for him. So he decided to go somewhere else and try something else. Try the same line on other girls. See, the art of the pickup line is weird, because a lot of girls can see through the pickup lines. A lot of guys can see through the pickup lines, and it's but it's gotten to the point in the bars where everything anybody says seems like a pickup line. And, even for the bartenders, we stand there, and the girl is giggling. She's playing with her hair, and then she orders a drink and hangs out at the bar. And then you get this weird feeling in the back of your head where you sit back and think, is she flirting with me, or is she just trying to get a free drink? Now, I'm ultimately paranoid when it comes to relationships, just because of things that have happened in the past that I really should get over. But everything that it seemed like everything seemed like a pickup line if you didn't know the person right away when you're trying to meet somebody new, and just saying hi. I had a really good friend that had decided, I am going to try to figure out this whole relationship thing out. I've been single for too long. I'm going to go to a bar that I know nobody and try to meet somebody, because I can't. He worked with me at the bar that I worked at. He was the cook. He said, I can't date anybody around here. It would be too awkward. So one night he decided, okay, put on a decent outfit, go over to a bar that he knew about that he didn't frequent. And he sat at the bar, listened to conversations, did a little bit of people watching, and then eventually saw a woman that he thought he would might be interesting. So and believe me, ladies and gentlemen, this guy he doesn't have a sexist bone in his body. He was really nice guy, really friendly. And so he walks over to this girl and says, "Hi, my name is," let's call him Steve. And he walks over to her and says, "Hi, my name is Steve." And the very next thing that she said to him was, "Not interested." And I thought, when he was telling me this story, I thought, she just said that right out of the gate. And he's like, "Yeah." And he said it was weird. And she didn't say, "Hi, I'm with my friends," or "Hi, my name is," or just shut him down immediately. And I thought, well, that, I'm trying to figure out still to this day if that's rude, or if there's another excuse. Personally, I'd like to side on the side that was just her being rude, but there can be a flip side to this story. And that flip side, it can be something that is debated for centuries and probably has been debated for centuries, but it will never, ever, ever be solved. The whole what happens in relationships, what happens when they start, what happens when they end. And if you ask me, if somebody who's studying like the social sciences, psychology, make them be bartenders. Because if you want a good testing group for a psychologist or a psychiatrist, work as a bartender, because you will meet every single different personality ever in your bar, and you will see how people react to different things. You'll have a whole bunch of things. I'm actually surprised that I've never run into a bartender who has turned into a psychologist or a psychiatrist, because they send psychoanalysts, or they tell them to sit and talk to people and read these books, but they don't really go out and actually experience it. And at least not to my knowledge, nobody ever walked into the bar and said, "Hi, I'm a psychiatrist." And then I'd probably look at him and say, "Stop reading into me." But, I mean, think of all the things that bartenders run into, just trying to figure out how relationships work and how people interact with each other. Become a bartender, for Christ's sake. You'll have a test sample so huge that it would boggle your mind, and you would be writing a dissertation for years based on your findings. But enough about things like dissertations. Wow, dissertation, big word. I feel so grown up. Hey Bartender Podcast has now a sponsor. Go to bartendersowncoffee.com. You will find a large selection of different coffees made here in the USA, 100% Arabica. Find different blends. Pick your favorite. And if you use promo code HeyBartender at checkout, you will receive 20% off your entire order. Head over to bartendersowncoffee.com and get your coffee today. They also have a selection of K-Cups, too, if you're one of those Keurig people. Enjoy. Oh, that's so cool. I have a sponsor now. Let's hear how excited everybody is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I've had this set up where I have a soundboard, and I never use the switches because I can't think of a decent reason to do it. But it really boosts my self-esteem when all of a sudden people start cheering for me. Thank you. Thank you. That's enough of that. So, anyway, back to what we were talking about. Now, I spent the first part of this show talking about people getting together, people hooking up, trying too hard, and stuff like that. But the thing that was most difficult to watch was the breakups. And bartenders, servers, you have your favorite customers. You have your favorite couples. I'm sure you do. Because I remember even I had favorite couples that would come in, and it was always nice to see them together. It was nice to see them interact with other people. And, they were just genuinely fun to see. But then all of a sudden you see them break up, and it's like watching your best friend break up with a longtime girlfriend. It's like, no, it wouldn't be as heart-wrenching or anything like that. Comparing your parents to get divorced. Well, it depends on how close you are to your customers. Maybe it's a lot like watching your brother or sister divorce somebody. But it was extremely difficult sometimes to witness a couple breakup. One where I was most embarrassed was I had this couple that came in, and every time, this was back before the point of sale system, I had to write names down on actual tickets to keep track of their tabs. I wrote every time both of them came in, let's call them John and Stacy. Every time they came in on their ticket, I'd write John and Stacy on there. And then all of a sudden one day I'm working, and then John comes in, and I write John and Stacy on the ticket. And then all of a sudden, my Barb, the bartender that I was working with that night, she takes me aside and says, just put John from now on because him and Stacy just recently got a divorce. And I'm like, oh crap. Well, that sucks. And wish you would have told me because he's come in by himself for the last week to the bar, and I've been still writing the same damn thing on the ticket. So, but it was hard watching breakups because you watch inevitably one of the couple, they'd still come into the bar. It's I don't know if it was like splitting up royalties to who gets what. Okay, I only get you get the furniture, I get the house, I get the bar, you get the grocery store. I don't know if that's how relationships split up like that. Usually when I broke up with somebody, if there was a common hangout, I would stop going to that hangout. If like with ex-girlfriends that I've had, usually it was their hangout that I ended up going to also. So for me not to go to that hangout anymore wasn't that big of a deal because I really didn't have any really bonding relationships in that bar. Well, maybe in other cases, but you get what I'm saying. And I'd see couples get divorced. I'd see boyfriend and girlfriend who seemed like they were in love one second, and all of a sudden they absolutely hate each other the next second. And then you end up as a bartender sometimes when you feel like you're friends with somebody, or because as a bartender we do like to inquire about personal lives a little bit at least, because it makes people feel more at home when you're at the bar. And so saying things like me putting my foot in my mouth one time because I had a customer at one bar I worked at. I hadn't seen him in a long time because he frequented the one bar I worked at. But then all of a sudden he came into the new bar that I was working at in the same town. And all of a sudden I say, "Hey man, how you doing? How's his wife?" I don't remember either of their names. "How's your wife?" And he goes, "She left me." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" And I partially laughed because I'll honestly tell you this, guys. I honestly partially laughed because I was uncomfortable. I laugh when I'm uncomfortable. I say sarcastic things when I'm uncomfortable. It was an extremely uncomfortable moment for me. And so he's like, "She left me." And I'm like, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, I went on a hunting trip and came back, and all that was left was a dining room table and the wedding photos." And I was like, "No shit." And because I thought they were a happy couple. And of course, it had been some time since I'd seen them because they frequented the other bar. Maybe things went a little bit south, and I just didn't know about it. But it was weird. But now, what I'm getting at here, people, is when it comes to breakups, here is this bartender's advice when it comes to that sort of thing. There are people out there who believe that when you break up with somebody, it's best to get right back on the horse. Just, okay, that's over. Time to get back into the dating pool. Haven't been there in a while. Do guys still wear piano key neckties? No? Okay. Do girls, still wear, I don't know shit about women. But anyway, you start thinking, you see these people start to think about, okay, it's time to move on. I can't be alone forever. So let's get back into the ring. Now this is for both men and women. Personally, I think that everybody needs, there needs to be a longer time. But what is it nowadays? Back when I was bartending, when you broke up with somebody, maybe this goes back as far as high school. When you broke up with somebody, there was like a required 2 weeks before you could date anybody else. Now, that was high school, and some people that come into your bars, I bet anybody that you bartenders know some people who haven't left high school. They still, they peaked in high school, so they think that they're still in with the popular crowd. They're still the coolest guy. They drive the coolest car. They date the prettiest girls. But really, in real life, they are a caved in ashtray. And they're a mess of what they think they are. I mean, they didn't see that, the dad bod all of a sudden came in. The pickup lines that they used back in the 80s don't work anymore. And it became something as simple as Joey saying, "How you doing?" And it's they've been out of the dating pool for a while, so it's like they don't know how to do it anymore, but they're relying on what they used to do. And really, they haven't been in the dating pool since high school. A lot of my customers in the town that I worked with were people that all went to high school together. It was actually kind of difficult for me because everybody that lived in that town went to school together. They worked together, and they've known each other since they were kids. And I came into that town not knowing anybody. And so it was like going to a high school reunion when I didn't even go to that high school. And mostly, I just tried my best to become a nice guy that they know. I didn't try my hardest to become their friend. But when relationship breakups would happen, some people would jump on the horse way too early. And here were my observations when that happened. It's like, okay, they just got a divorce. It's been finalized. They've decided, okay, time to date again. And maybe they do find somebody nice. Maybe they do manage to bring up a relationship build a relationship from that. But 9 times out of 10, based on this bartender's observations, everybody else that's listening to this show might think something different. They take everything that happened in that previous relationship and ultimately sabotage themselves, thinking that the same thing's going to happen again, or they think that that person is going to do the same thing that the other person did to them, so they're trying their hardest to avoid that. And everything bad that came from that previous relationship is still, all the wounds are still bleeding, and they haven't taken care of themselves. They haven't set their mind right yet. And that brings me to my advice when it comes to doing breakups. Take all the time you need. There is no rush to get back into a relationship. Sure, we miss the intimacy. We miss doing things with people. Like, well, shit. First time I went to a movie by myself, it felt weird, and it's like I'm sitting in a theater by myself to watch a movie just because I don't have a girlfriend. All my good friends are busy with their relationships. And it was a real downer at first. But the funny little tidbit to that story, I went and saw, I think it was the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie when that came out in the theater. It was the first time I ever went to see a movie by myself because I was single and all my friends were busy with their relationships. And I'm sitting there watching the movie, and I all of a sudden turn around and look around. I am the only person in that theater. The movie had been out for some time. Probably close to going out of the theaters, ready to go on to DVD. But I realized I'm by myself in here. I have the whole theater to myself. And after that time going to a movie theater by myself, at first it felt a little lonely. Yeah, not just because I was the only person in the theater, but I just didn't have anybody to go with me. And but I got over it after a while because I don't always have time to find, get into relationships. I've never been in a hurry to get into a relationship. Yes, going to a movie would be more fun, or a bar with somebody, or a restaurant would be more fun with somebody, but you don't have somebody all the time. And so you got to get used to doing that, being by yourself. Otherwise, you just run through the briar patch of failed relationships. But I do encourage people to take some time to themselves, heal, because usually in the bar I would talk to the person that was depressed about the breakup. The person that was happy about the breakup, I usually never saw them again. But the person that ultimately had their heart broken, I would pretty much tell them, take some time for yourself. Whatever you need to do, if you need to just sit in your house and binge watch TV, drink wine, or play an online video game by yourself for a little while, for God's sakes, do it. That way you walk into a new relationship fresh, and don't use everything that happened to you in the previous relationship against the next person, because ultimately that relationship is doomed to fail as soon as you say, so you want to go out sometime? The time period in between is still debatable. 2 weeks, I guess, is still socially acceptable for going in between relationships. But, you really need to take the time to think things through, because you can ultimately, it's kind of like what they were going through when Jason Newsted left Metallica. They said, you got to find the right person, or we're going to be going through this again in only a couple of years. And so they really sat back and really auditioned all these bass players until they found Robert Trujillo. That can be kind of, sort of integrated into my way of relationship thinking. This is just your bartender speaking. I am not a board certified psychologist. I'm just a drink slinger that, will give somebody an ear every now and then when they have something to say. I will give advice very rarely, just because I don't want to be blamed for whatever. But there will be eventually a time where I'll see that the customer has been alone for quite some time, and then they're actually scared to jump into the next relationship. And I'll see them talking to somebody, see that they're actually enjoying each other's company, and then they all of a sudden turn to me and say, "Oh my God, what am I doing? I can't do this." And I was like, "What are you talking about? You two look like you're getting along great." I don't know if I'm ready to move on yet. And I'll usually tell them, the way you were acting, you're smiling again, you're comfortable around this person, you're comfortable in your own skin around this person. It's time. Go for it. And if it fails, sure, we might be back, right back here. But remember, you only go around this lifetime once. Take a chance every now and then. You've paid your dues. Now it's time to move on. But the people that would walk into the bar and say, "Yeah, my spouse left me, so I'm single now. So where are all the hot chicks at, or sexy studs at?" I just go like, "Oh, you are doomed to fail. Yuck." And it was hard to watch breakups, and it was hard to go through breakups when I was bartending too. Because, like I said, everybody likes their bartender, and everybody's concerned about their bartender. So I would try my hardest standing behind the bar to not show that emotion that I was heartbroken or whatever. But inevitably, somebody would eventually come up to me and say, "What's wrong?" And I go, "Nothing." And then, "Come on, what's wrong?" And then I sit there and debate, should I stab them in the face with this fork, or should I just tell him? And I would just not tell him. I'd say, look, please, just leave me alone. And usually the customers would always be cool about it, but it was a small town. Most of the customers knew about it already anyway. But yeah, I mean, did that story about love and loss and all that sort of thing confuse the shit out of everybody? Well, that should tell you guys how good I am at it. I'm sure some of you are laughing at me as this guy doesn't know shit. Well, you're right. But I do try hard. So I got that going for me, which is nice. But it is the weekend here, people. It is time for this week's musical guest from England. From their latest EP available on bandcamp.com, this is The Last Trains with their song, The Girl with the Sparkle in Her Eyes.
I'd like to talk to her, call her on the phone. I'd like to walk with her, I'd like to walk her home. Don't think she notices how much I love that smile. Wish she'd sit down with me and hang out for a while. For the girl with a sparkle in her eyes. For the girl with a sparkle in her eyes. For the girl with a sparkle in her eyes. There's a sparkle in her eyes. Outside the rain pours down as she collects the cups. Inside I'm falling down, I feel like giving up. Outside the lovers walk coats button against the rain. Guess you'll never notice me, but I love her all the same. For the girl with a sparkle in her eyes. For the girl with a sparkle in her eyes. For the girl with a sparkle in her eyes. There's a sparkle in her eyes. She's the moon, she's the stars, she's everything. She's the moon, she's the stars, she's everything. Don't think she notices how much I love that smile. Wish she'd sit down with me and hang out for a while. For the girl with a sparkle in her eyes. For the girl with a sparkle in her eyes. For the girl with a sparkle in her eyes. There's a sparkle in her eyes. There's a sparkle in her eyes.
From England, that was The Last Trains with their song, The Girl with the Sparkle in Her Eyes. That is available on their latest EP on bandcamp.com. Head on over to bandcamp.com and go check out their music. There's a ton of music on bandcamp.com. That's where I go to find all these independent artists to be on the show. If you're an independent music artist that wants to be on this show, be featured on my show,
just drop me a line, dude at heybartenderpodcast.com. I will make it happen for you. Anyway, love is a very strange and amazing thing at the same time. It can make you feel praised. It can make you feel profane. And we are all in desperate search of it. I kind of like what Christopher Titus once said. There's 7.5 million men in this world, 7.5 billion women in this world. And if you're bisexual, you have no choice but to find somebody that makes you happy. Because it just takes a while to find that right person. And are you going to find the right person in a bar? Maybe. You could accidentally run into the right person while pumping gas or whatever. You just got to take time. You got to take patience. You got to try not to jump in anything too quickly because being in a train wreck hurts. And how you deal with that afterwards is the most important thing before you go into the new relationship, at least according to this bartender. But my favorite quote when it comes to love is this. The Encyclopedia Galactica, in its chapter on love, states that it's far too complicated to define. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has this to say on the subject of love. Avoid if at all possible. Unfortunately, none of us have ever read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, at least not the literal Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Some of us have probably read the book. I watched the movie personally. The movie's awesome. But, just like driving a car or skydiving, be careful. Because it can be the greatest thing that ever happened to you, but it can also be the most deafening destruction of your life at the same time. And, it's tough out there. Everybody wants to be happy. They want to find somebody to be happy with because everything's more fun when you're with somebody. That was one of the things that I remember the teacher from Famous Bartending School told me when he was telling us, if you remember listening to that show, he is saying when he is making a particular shot, he makes enough for two because you should never do a shot alone. But we do every once in a while have to do a shot alone. And, it's important that we understand we don't always have to do the shot alone, but we can't do the shot with just anybody. Wow. That actually sounded kind of profound to me. Anyway, people, it is last call. That's right, last call for alcohol. If you want something, come on up to the bar because I'm not coming out there because some of you are really far away. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to Hey Bartender Podcast. Please tell your friends, family, tell your dog because you never know, your dog might be into this. If you want to add something to the show, you want to be a part of the show, all you have to do is contact me, dude at heybartenderpodcast.com. Or you can follow the Facebook page, Hey Bartender Podcast, Instagram, Hey Bartender Podcast, or, well, I'm only on Twitter every once in a while, but Hey Bartender Podcast is on there, Hey Bartender PO1. I also made a TikTok account, nothing really interesting on there just yet. I'm just me being goofy. But, special thanks to The Last Trains for letting me use their song. Go check them out on bandcamp.com. Hey, did anybody that listens to this show congratulate Randy Lynn Landberg? Remember, she was on episode 50 of Hey Bartender Podcast. She got Bartender of the Year in Santa Fe, New Mexico for 2020. That's her second year in a row. She got it in 2019, got it in 2020. If you have an opportunity, get on social media, go to Cowgirl Santa Fe, find their Instagram page, or Randy Lynn Landberg, find her Instagram page. Congratulate her, because that's a huge deal, and she rightly deserves it. Also, remember, people, help support Hey Bartender Podcast by going to heybartenderpodcast.com and check out what we got going there. I have today's drink recipe courtesy of the The Cocktail Scientist. I have, you can catch up on latest episodes of Hey Bartender Podcast. You can pick up a t-shirt or two, help support the show, help me keep this running, and, do whatever. Also, remember to check out Hey Bartender Podcast sponsored the Bartender's Own Coffee. Go check them out, bartendersowncoffee.com. Until the next episode, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to wish you all lots of love, lots of sex, lots of happiness, and don't take any shit from anyone. Good night.
What do you mean it's last call? I just got here!